Hello, friends. Welcome to our 2025 Reset for Changemakers. I'm very happy to see you here. Delighted that you wanted to spend this time together and reflect on the year that is coming to an end. We'll start off with an overview of the agenda for today and some housekeeping before we move to the core of the session today. And so when it comes to the session, we will spend around 90 minutes on it, but given that you're watching that as a video, you can make it shorter or longer, break it down into parts, whatever works for you. I've inserted some time for you to do each part of the reflection, each exercise, but if you need more time, you can just pause the video. If you need less time, you can just skip forward. So make sure that it works for you and that it's comfortable for you. We will start with a little bit of reframing to, in a way, set the stage for us. Then we're going to focus on reflecting upon 2025 and different dimensions of our lives and how they feel at this point of the year. And then we'll switch to 2026 priorities. After that, there is also a section about burnout. I'm going to be recommending some supporting tools. I'll be explaining a little bit about the term and the symptoms of burnout. Knowing from the session that has taken place live, this is quite a lot to take right after the reflections. So if that works better for you, you might want to pause right after reflections and then pick it back up when you have some more time. So up to you. Just make sure that you're comfortable and that this whole process is enjoyable and nurturing for you. Now, in terms of housekeeping, first of all, come as you are. Please make sure that you have the space and the time to actually sit quietly and reflect. If you know that you will be disturbed, or if you know that you need to take some breaks, then at least make sure that you can focus on a specific exercise and then break it when you need to. But the more time for yourself you can carve out from your day and just focus on this type of reflection, the better. Make sure that you have these 60, 90 minutes only to yourself. That also means that you might want to switch off your mobile phone, that you might want to switch off social media, all of the tabs, email tabs, whatever you have put up, so that they do not distract you and do not disturb the flow of your reflections. Since this is a recording, of course, I will not be checking in if you want to share what you're coming up with. But if at any point you want to put anything in the comments or drop me an email, I'll be more than happy to read. Turn off the distractions that we've already covered. And then finally, respect privacy of others. This is also something that was relevant only for the actual session. Also, given that it's, say, 60, 90 minutes of our work together, I would encourage you to get something delicious and warm to drink. Or if it's warm where you are, then delicious and cold to drink, since it might be just adding up to the experience. Very well. So now, one final practical thing, you can approach it in two different ways. First one is analog. So if you want to just take a pen and paper, you have a journal, and you just want to note down your thoughts and reflections, that's one way to go about it. The way I structured the presentation allows you to just follow what's on the screen and then note down your thoughts. But there's also a digital option for you if that's what's easier for you to work with. And that's a Notion template. In the email that I've sent, you have a link to this Notion template. When you open the link, in the right-hand corner, you will see the option to duplicate the template. Once you do this, once you add it to your own Notion setup, then you'll be able to fill it in. So whichever works better for you, please choose based on your preferences. So let's get to it. Before we start, I would encourage you to consciously slow down. Take a few deep breaths. If you're familiar with box breathing, you might do that. That means that you will inhale, counting to 4, then hold your breath, counting to 4, then release, counting to 4, and then hold again, counting to 4. Whichever way of breathing in and out or breathing out works for you, just do this. You might also scan your body before we start working. Just look and identify the parts of your body that might be tense. Try to relax them. Spend a short moment trying to get into this soft and relaxed reflection mode. Now we will begin the process of reflection by reframing our definition of ourselves, if you will. Very often when we introduce ourselves to new people, we would lead with our name and then the role that we have, the organization that we work for. We lead with who we are professionally. To begin this reflection, I would invite you to write down a short introduction about yourself, with the one and only rule being that you cannot mention anything related to your work, position, organization, or even your educational background. So take a moment and think about who you are outside of your job. What would you like other people to know about you, regardless of who you work for, who you work with, and where you work. Now, as you've done that, I would invite you to stay in that identity and stay in that frame of mind all throughout the next exercises. Now, let's begin with the big picture. 2025 has been rough. It's been rough for many of us, maybe for most of us. And even though we had to power through, there have been developments, crises happening all around the world that made it difficult for us this year. Now, what I would invite you to do is to note down the feelings that first come to the fore when you're thinking about this year. And as a help, here is a map of feelings that you might want to use, which includes all of the more nuanced types of feelings that you might have felt or you might be feeling right now. So now take a moment and note down the feelings that are prevalent or that have been dominant over 2025. In this part, we will move to analyzing different dimensions of our lives. We have the big picture, the feelings that accompanied us throughout the year. The next part of this reflection will, in a way, slice up our lives into 8 dimensions that I will invite you to reflect on. And with this example, physical health being the first one, you will also see what type of questions I'm asking. So with the physical health, when you think about your physical health in 2025, first, I would invite you to give it a score, if you will. You can use the stars, but you can do it in any way you prefer. But think about how well do you think you've nurtured your physical health all throughout this last year. And once you do that, I would ask two more questions. One is, what is that you're most proud of when it comes to physical health in 2025? Maybe you've started some type of fitness regimen. Maybe you've changed something about your diet. Maybe you've built some muscle. So think about what it is in 2025 that makes you proud when it comes to physical health. And then on the other side, what might be the thing that felt the hardest when it comes to physical health, your physical health in 2025? What drained you the most? It might be a sickness of some sort. Maybe you've sprained something or broken. I hope not. But perhaps there was something that made it difficult for you to really take care of your health. And so with these three questions, we will go through each and every dimension of our life. Now, I'm leaving some time on pause for you to reflect, but as I mentioned earlier, if you need more time, just pause the video. If you need less time, just skip to the next. Now, the next section for us is mental health. And again, consider the three questions. How well have you nurtured your mental health? What's the score? What are the things that you're most proud of? And what are the things that felt the hardest? The ones that were most exhausting, drained you the most when it comes to your mental health? Third one on the list is spirituality. And this is regardless of religion. You might experience and integrate in your life spirituality in many different ways. It doesn't have to be religious. It can be different types of being mindful and connected with the broader world. Whatever it is for you, that's what you discuss in that particular space. And again, investigate how well have you nurtured your own spirituality in this year? What are the things that you might be most proud of? Maybe there were some difficult points along the way. Maybe something has made it difficult for you to really invest in your spirituality, to really explore it, to build it up, to nurture it. Next one on the list is the relationships. And in this point, relationships are meant as your closest relationships. So these might be your romantic relationships, or your family, maybe your closest friends, and think about how well you've nurtured these relationships. What are the things that you're, again, most happy about, that bring you joy when you think about relationships in 2025? And again, what are the things that felt the hardest when it comes to your relationships in 2025? Next one is community. And here we're talking about your more extended relationships. This is a question about your neighborhood, maybe your work community, or any other network of acquaintances, people that you meet, maybe regularly, maybe rarely, depending, that constitute your closest community. Some of us don't have it, and that's also something to explore. So again, how well do you think you nurtured your engagement in the community, your ties within the community? What are you most proud of? What was the most difficult thing about it this year? Is there anything that exhausted you when it comes to engaging with your community this year? And again, it can be social, it can be professional. You decide what's the most relevant community for you. Next one on the list is self-growth. Here we're thinking about your efforts to grow, to develop yourself, not only professionally, but I guess for many of us in many ways, it will be mostly professionally. So ways in which you actually invested in growing as a human being, but also growing as a professional. How well you think you've taken care of that aspect of your life? What would you brag about? What are you most proud of? What felt the hardest or drained you the most? Next one on the list is career. And here we are exploring anything and everything that relates to your main job, your work. I assume your work as a change maker. And so with that, how happy you are with what has happened in your job and in your role throughout this year. Are there any high points that you would most brag about? Are there any low points that made it difficult for you to sustain the role, to power through? Next one is money. And here we're talking about your overall financial health. So how well do you think you've taken care of the income that you're generating, but also your savings, your investments, anything that builds your financial stability and financial health? Is there anything you're most proud of? And again, were there any low points, anything that was especially difficult in 2025 when it comes to your finances? And then finally, perhaps there's something that we didn't cover. Maybe there's a category that you feel you want to explore in particular. It might be a subsection of the ones that we actually covered. So if there's something that you want to focus on separately, now is the time to do it. And again, the questions will be similar. How well do you think you've nurtured that particular space? What are you most proud of? What felt hardest or drained you the most? Now, with that, as you're looking at this entire picture, the 8+ dimensions of your life that often overlap and mingle, and they're absolutely not clear cut in between one another. But as you look at all of that, I want you to think about the one thing that stands out that you're most happy about. The best thing that happened to you, by you, through you, in 2025. When you're thinking about it, I want you to get really specific. Think about the place, the people taking part in it, the smells and sounds, the context, the weather. Give it some detail. Don't just write few basic words about what that was. Really write down the memory. Give it some time and try to go back to how you felt when it was happening. Now, as we are moving through the reflections, and there clearly have been some things that you might feel were not the best in 2025. Things that you felt you maybe missed. Maybe there were things that you wish you've paid more attention to. I would like you to think about which of these are some of the things that you want to take into 2026 as your priorities. The things that you really want to focus on and take care of, care for them. What are 1, 2, or 3 priorities? Maybe priority dimensions, maybe very specific things within these dimensions that you think are critical for your well-being and your happiness in 2026. In order to do that, you might want to do 2 things. One is just note down the things that come to your mind. Select the priorities, the non-negotiables for 2026. But then once you have them, I would invite you to explore how specifically can you really take care of them. What can be the very specific decisions or activities that you can take in order to meet these goals, fulfill these criteria, take care of these things that you find most important for you in 2026. Now, you may allow me, or you may not, but I also have a priority for you for 2026. You have all of the freedom to tell me no, but there's one thing that I wanted to suggest. But before I do, I wanted to take you back to 2019, to my 2019. Now, in 2019, I was pretty much on top of the world. I was invited to speak on stages in Oslo, Milan, Montreal, in St. Louis, in Milwaukee, in Kielce. I was working in many different cities, in Georgian Rustavi, in Łódź, in Krakow, in Zamość. I was high speed. I was very enthusiastic. It was a go, go, go. It was really a year which was a critical year in my work in many ways. But it was also the year that shook me the hardest. In 2019, I had to have a surgery. I had to have a benign cancer removed. I was quite exhausted. I was anxious. I wasn't sleeping well. And so towards the end of 2019, I was so burnt out that even though my company was already hiring a team that really worked well together, that I could pay decent money, and that we had a contract for the next 3 years to come, I hit the wall. And I decided to close the business that I've been building for the previous 5 years. I had to let the team go. And I spent the next 6 months sleeping and eating. I burnt out, and I burnt out bad. And this is definitely something that I don't want to ever happen to you. So with that, my priority for you for 2026 is to prevent burnout as much as possible, and to help you stay whole in your work throughout your work of a change maker. A couple of weeks ago, I took part in a conference, and there was one speaker who shared a metaphor that I really loved. He said, in life, we're juggling many different balls: work, family, friends, right? So there's many different things that we juggle. The thing is that most of these balls are rubber balls. So if they fall, they bounce back, we can catch them back and juggle them again. But there are two that are glass balls. It's our health and our family. And if these two fall, if we drop these two, then it's very difficult to put them back together and to continue juggling. Now, this is something that resonated with me very much. And this health part is something that I think we're recognizing more and more. So with that, I wanted to start a short presentation about burnout, what it is, what it means, what are some of the symptoms, and then offer you some helpful tools. So burnout, when it comes to the latest definitions and classifications, is a condition that we can recognize based on 4 symptoms. The very first one is exhaustion. And exhaustion, as you can guess, is the situation in which you wake up already tired. Tasks that perhaps previously were not demanding at all now require a lot of energy from you, that you're constantly feeling spent, worn out, tireless. And so that's the very first physical symptom. Your body is simply tired. Second one is emotional impairment. Now, this is a symptom that is related to how well you're regulating your own emotions. Do things trigger you way more easily? Do you have trouble managing your anger? Maybe you're constantly stressed and you cry or shout way more often than you used to. You're basically experiencing difficulties managing your emotional states. A third condition is cognitive impairment. Now, this relates to your ability to process information, to remember things, to focus on things, to be able to hold a conversation and then remember what the conversation was about. Some tasks that, again, previously didn't take much time, now take way longer because you get distracted, because you cannot really focus that well and for extended periods of time. And so these, as you can see, are all related to how your body and your mind are responding. And then the final one is mental distance. And then mental distance means that you are starting to build a wall between yourself and your work, that things that used to matter for you no longer do, that you're becoming cynical. That's actually the previous name of this symptom, that you're no longer trusting and invested in the goal of your work, in the work itself. And so these four symptoms put all together signal that you might be burnt out or at the risk of burning out. Now, what are the risk factors when it comes to burnout? It would be helpful for you to think of it as a scale. On the one hand, you have demands at work, right? When you're experiencing constant overload, overwhelm, when you have very little clarity about when and where does your role end, right? What is the limit of the job and the responsibilities that you need to fulfill? This is very tiring, and this can put additional stress on you and be a risk, a burnout risk to you. If you're engaged, if you're working in professions that require emotional dissonance, this is also a risk. Emotional dissonance means that regardless of how you feel, your interface, your front, has to be positive and optimistic and caring and often even full of joy, right? And it often happens in service roles, in care work, where it doesn't really matter, in a sense, if you're depressed or if you're stressed. If something difficult is troubling you, you still have to put on the happy face. And this is extremely taxing on your health. And then finally, on the demand side, when there's a tension between what your work demands of you and then what your home demands of you, when they both fight for your attention and bite into one another, then this is also something that is considered a risk factor for burnout. Now, in the ideal world, on the other side of the scale, you would have resources that could balance things out for you, even if you have these risk factors. But if you don't, then they add up to the risk. The resources can be divided into two parts: work resources and personal ones. Now, the work resources pretty much describe the basic psychological needs that we all have. So think of it that way. If in your work you're provided with autonomy, competence, and relatedness, your basic psychological needs are met. They are satisfied. In this case, autonomy means that if you have a task, you have the freedom to decide how you do the task, when you do the task, as long as it's within an agreed timeline, who you do the task with, and so on and so forth. So you have autonomy to decide about how you do your job. Competence means that the things that you're doing are aligned with what you're good at or what skills you're actually building. And based on that, you feel competent and you feel that what you're contributing is actually a high quality. And then finally, relatedness. This is about your work environment, about your ability to build relationships at work, to nurture them, to have trust in your colleagues, to feel that the environment is friendly. When it comes to personal resources, this is more related to your temperament, your character, who you actually are, but not fully. So one of the risk factors that you can do very little about is if you're neurotic. So if, in a way, by design, you are a person that reacts more emotionally and more frequently in an emotional way to different things. If it's more difficult for you to manage and work with your emotions. Second thing is your belief in the fact that if you set yourself to do something, you can actually accomplish it. So it's a matter of self-efficacy. And if it's low, if you tend to think that no matter what you do, you won't be able to do it well, then it's also extremely taxing on yourself, and it increases the risk of burnout. And then finally, this is the part that you can do the most about, although you can work with all of them. This is a question about how well do you manage stress? What are your responses to stressful situation or chronic stress? As we all know, there are ways for us to unwind that are healthy, and there are those that give some relief in the moment, but then long-term cause more harm than good. So this is one of the things that are extremely important to reflect upon and to notice in our own behavior when it comes to managing stressful situations. Now, with all of that, you might be wondering, where are you on the scale of burnout? Are you at risk at all? Or maybe you're already there. Now, it's not possible to self-diagnose burnout. It's not possible to diagnose it with just a questionnaire. In order to actually really know if you're burnt out or if you're at risk, you need to see a specialist. Having said that, there are tools that have good psychometric qualities that can help you do some type of a reflection and see where you are on the risk scale, so that perhaps this can help you make a decision on whether or not you want to see a therapist, a psychiatrist, a specialist that can help you with further diagnosis and support. This is a questionnaire that was developed by Shafeli and the team, and you've received that in the package that I've sent to you in the email. If you're watching this on YouTube, all of these links are also in the description below. And so I would invite you to explore this questionnaire. It is quite simple and quite simple to calculate. You will see that you have the 4 sections that I discussed with you as the core symptoms of burnout. For each section, there's a bunch of questions, and these questions should be scored in the context of how often do you experience certain things. Never, rarely, sometimes, often, or always. And then as you go through them, as you mark your answers, you then also score them based on this template. And once you add up all of the points, you then divide them by the number of questions in each section. With that, you will get the score for each section of burnout. You can also then calculate the mean for all of the scores and check them based on the reference norms that I've posted. The link that I'm sharing for the questionnaire includes the questionnaire in many different languages. So what you might want to do is first check if your mother tongue is included. Do you have a questionnaire? If you have a questionnaire in your own language, and only if you don't, then switch to English. The English one, I think, has been tested the most, and you have the norms for it. So, we do with what we have. I think that's the best way to go about it. But already in that, you can hear that this might not fully reflect your own condition. Please be careful about it. Use it as a way to reflect, but do not treat it as a final diagnosis. It's not. So if you need one, if you're worried, if you want to meet with a specialist and have a full diagnosis, do that. Please do that. Now, with that, the final 3 things I would say are this. Go back to the slide where I mentioned the risk factors and think about which are applicable to your context. Which of these are actually factors that you experience every day? Be that on the work demand side, or be that on the work resources or personal resources side. Which risk factors are the most relevant for you? Once you have that, you might think about what might be some boundaries, some activities that put a stop to that pressure, limit that pressure. Think about everyday practices that you can implement that can actually help you build some safe space around you so that burnout is less of a risk. And then finally, in January, I'm organizing the next session that will focus solely on that. So we'll be walking through some of the tools, also going through the risk factors more in depth, and we will try to build individual anti-burnout protocols that you can then use in your own life. So if that's interesting for you, please make sure to subscribe and register for that session. Again, the link is in the description below, or you've received it in the email with the entire package. With that, I wanted to thank you so much for taking part in that session. Thank you so much for your trust and the time that we could spend together. I would love to hear from you if there are any other topics, maybe things that were specific to that session that you would like me to explore moving forward. In the meantime, please take care of yourselves and have a wonderful, wonderful 2026. Bye, friends.